Hey there guys, how's it going? My name is Mittens. I've got the treat you've all been waiting a long time for right here. You know what this is. This is the on our rogue Malevolus about to do Shadowfang Keep, that big SFK at level 24, just like I promised, and this was a fantastic run. I did it around dusk time. It was about 5 in the afternoon where I live, and it was awesome, guys. I tell you what, this reminded me of Dark Souls. It reminded me of other old RPGs, of things like Oblivion. And it really just reminded me why it is that I love playing Vanilla WoW. And it's because of that RPG feel. It's really good. You guys are going to have a sweet time. But before we get into it, let me please just say again, if you haven't already, please vote in the straw poll that I've made. The link is in the description below. And I've put up a selection of games I want to play. And I want to see which you guys are interested in me playing next as part of a playthrough. So please vote in that if you can, guys. It really does help me out. Now, back to business. So here we are, we stepped straight into Shadowfang Keep. A bit of nice lore there with a Rugal in the background. I can't remember having done that part, so it was good to have that part happen right there. Now, we started off with a group of 5, as you might expect, it being a dungeon, a 5-man. And we had myself, the rogue, we had a warrior, tank, we had a priest in the healing role, we had a... Oh, I'm trying to remember. I think it was a mage. I believe we had either a mage or a warlock. I'm pretty sure it's a mage by the looks of things. And then we had a warlock. But you see, the warlock left the group here, right? And he kind of messed us about a bit. He said he was coming back. He never came back. I knew it was happening. But fortunately, our healer and our tank were pretty good. They were able to keep the group together. And we just cleared whilst we were waiting for a new person. I knew that it wasn't going to break the group up. Purely because, you know, if you lose a tank or if you lose a healer, that's pretty bad. But if you lose 1 DPS, you can deal with that shit. Everybody knows if you lose 1 DPS, it takes like 2 seconds flat to get a new one in vanilla. Really, really easy. And everybody's wanting to do Shadowfang Keep. If you're wanting to do a Shadowfang Keep run on Nostalrius, just go to the Undercity and just wait. And about 2 seconds later in the chain chat, it'll be looking for you. Trust me, it's awesome. It might be a bit harder to get a group if you're a tank or a healer. Just make one yourself. There will be loads of DPS wanting to join. So here we were about to take on the first, effectively, boss. He doesn't particularly drop any greens or rares, but the first boss down here, this brown Worgen we're about to fight just down the stairs. And I remember when I used to do this in the Burning Crusade or in Wrath, it used to be that this guy dropped a sort of blue shoulder pads called the Feral Spalders, and in vanilla they're just white, but they're leather, and I haven't got these shoulders on at the moment, so I knew I was going to take them, and fortunately they actually dropped. So I managed to get myself a nice pair of shoulder pads, make me look a little bit less bony rather than those little stumps that I've got going on right now. As you can see, there were a lot of periods where we had to take on multiple mobs in this encounter, in this dungeon. But thanks to some good tanking, some good healing, and some overall good prioritising within the group, we managed to do this with very little wipes. I think we only wiped once, and that was on a later boss, which is pretty fucking difficult. But we managed to kill him anyway, so it's all good times. So here we were, we accidentally pulled this extra guy. I thought, you know what, I'll stick with the mob I've got already attacking, because he's already below half health, and I'm doing massive damage at the moment, so I thought, you know, I'll fuck him up. But I got stunned here by the boss. He has an ability where he puts you to sleep. So I killed that guy, went straight back onto the boss, and we were wailing on him. I was getting all the mad crits, got my slice and dice up, got my ruptures up, and it was going really, really well. And I knew we were going to be able to do this fine, and it was really giving me a good hope for the rest of the dungeon, of the instance, because we were doing this just as a 4-man, which is fucking fantastic. So right now I'm thinking, oh, it's all he dropped, it's a shadow gem, decide to loot it myself, and lo and behold, there we have, we get the Spalders, and I thought, yes, fantastic, just check that I didn't have any on already, which I didn't, equip them, and straight away, you know, it's not much, but that just helps make my character look a little bit higher level, a little bit more professional than if you were to have a character that wasn't in the dungeon bracket area, that was like level 15 or below. But I like to pan around the camera a little bit whilst I was doing these dungeons, guys, just because it's nice to see a little bit of the vistas and just remember that nostalgia feel. I mean, I love the way Blizzard designed some of their dungeons and raids, and Shadowfang Keep is one of the best examples of that. The way in which you have to go up through the town, up through the towers, and then onto the battlements and stuff, and all of these little bosses in their own compartments. It is fantastically well designed. It really does remind me of something like Dark Souls. If you played, say, I think a good example is if you played Dark Souls 2, when you have to do the Forest of Fallen Giants part, that's kind of what this reminded me of. Or maybe even like the Lost Bastille even in some parts. But it was really, really good fun doing this, especially because as as I continued to do this, the sun went down lower and lower, and everything got like a nice reddy orange colour. It really did feel like we were taking on this like enemy stronghold of Worgen, and I really did feel like I was in the midst of a really good, deep, exciting RPG game. And every little drop that we got, even though I didn't get that many, every boss that we killed felt like an achievement. And after all, that's pretty much why you want to play vanilla, because every single thing feels like an achievement. I tell you what, I got more satisfaction out of killing mobs in this than I've gotten out of any raid I've done in WoW since like Cataclysm, because you know, it's just like you feel like you're progressing through an instance that has a high level of difficulty. And just like in a game like, say, Dark Souls, you have to think quite tactically. You have to think tactically. You can't be pulling all the mobs in the shop. You can't be running to an instance blindly without communicating. Everybody has to do their part, and everybody did pull their weight in this dungeon, which was fantastic. So that's us with 2 bosses down, and we're about to take on Baron Silverlane here. A lot of these bosses drop rares in Burning Crusade onwards, but in vanilla they only drop greens, which I kind of like. I kind of like it that there are only a few rares that get dropped in each dungeon, because it means that when you do get a rare, it feels even better, and it makes greens feel a bit more useful too, which is great. By this time, if you haven't already realised, we managed to recruit this badass Tauren warrior, which proved pretty useful later on, because when we got into some hard spots and our warrior tank died, we had a second warrior on hand to at least be able to swamp some of that aggro, with the fact that he had heavier armour, for example, and was doing some good melee damage too. It meant that the clothies in our group, the priest and the mage, didn't have to take the brunt of the assault of these Worgen. I know it might not seem like we were in here that long, seeing as I put all of these cuts together, but in all honesty, it didn't take us that long to clear this entire dungeon. I was surprised. When we did Wailing Caverns, which I will say is a notoriously long dungeon, it took a very, very long time to get through it. But with Shadowfang Keep, it really wasn't that difficult at all. We just blazed through it. I think it's because everybody was at the right level. Everybody was in the role that they should have. We had a priest healer, we had a warrior tank, which meant everything was smooth in that kind of supporting area. And then when you have a mage, a warrior and a rogue, it's quite a solid combination to have. It might have been nice to have, say, had a hunter in this team, but you know, we had quite a good DPS group. When you've got a mage and a rogue together, you're going to have some massive damage. Kudos to the tank as well. He dropped aggro very few times, and I was kind of reckless with some of my attacks going straight in, and some tanks can get pretty pissed off with that, but this one, he was sound as a pound. Playing the undead female warrior though, that's not a common sight, quite interesting. So after we killed this guy, we decided to move inside this sort of kind of alcove area, which is one of my favourite areas of the dungeon. I can't sing its praises enough as to how well designed this dungeon is. Shadowfang Keep is a really interesting place to go through, and there's loads of shortcuts you can take. Another thing that really is good about these vanilla dungeons is there are a lot of optional bosses. It's not like you have to just go through and, you know, there's like 4 or 5 bosses and then it's over in a flash. These are quite long encounters, which are designed to make you feel like you're taking on a hard challenge, where you can go different alternative routes to get to the end goal and take different bosses on, and bypass certain bosses. Just really awesome stuff, really, and exactly what you want in a vanilla encounter. We're about to take on our next boss here, and this required a little bit of tact, because he has 2 kind of ads on either side that we knew we were going to pull. So our tank quite rightly got that priority up, and our mage did a nice little bit of CC here. I offer to sap right now, but you know, knowing how easy it is to get knocked out of stealth when trying to do a sap, especially because there was not that much room to get around these guys, and because one of them was a boss, I decided to not bother with that, and these guys went straight in. It was a simple case of killing Skull and letting go on with Cross, which is exactly what we needed to do. And as you can see, it took us no time at all to get his ad down and then get straight on this bastard right here. I had to take a little bit of time to do my kicking, and you know how much you guys, you know how much I love doing a bit of a kick in the doorway in the 4-4 on these bosses. This guy trying to heal, fuck that, I saw him doing it. I thought, come on dude, be a bro, fight like a man. Got the kick in straight there. This idiot wasn't going to do jack shit to me. Boom. Be dispatched and go about your wicked business, sir. You will not heal this day. and he dropped a rare shield, and I was kind of ticked off that, you know, all these bosses that dropped rares were dropping things that I didn't want. I mean, I know this guy dropped a shield, and then later on when we managed to kill a Rugal, he dropped a fucking cloth belt of all things. I wanted my bloody butcher's slicer. I try not to swear as much, but you know how I feel. A rogue needs his weapons. Don't want to be stuck here with a bloody strength mace. What am I, some kind of fucking warrior? Hardly. We're the kings of melee combat in vanilla. So this was a really difficult encounter right here. This is a boss, Odo I think he is, the handler, something like that, I'm not sure. But he summoned like 2 bats, which is pretty difficult. The bats go for everybody, and then we've got the boss himself, and there was no time to do any CCing. As you can see, we're in a really, really tight corridor, so it's not like we can get out of here easily. So the tank did well to survive as long as he did. We managed to take the boss out pretty swiftly, but obviously there were them 2 mobs to deal with after, and they do hit pretty fucking hard. Also, I think people were a bit unsure which mob to target, and what I usually do, guys, and this is maybe a hint for some of you less experienced players out there, if you're wondering, what should I do if there's loads of targets in a fight and it's a bit of a clusterfuck, and no one's targeted anything, no one's put any markers on anything, what I usually do is just tab through and see what's at lowest health and just go for that, because no one can blame you for doing that. And most people do it, but it's just tips like this can help you really be a better player, especially in my opinion, if you're playing a casting class. Not as much a melee class, but a casting class, because you don't want to be wasting your mana taking out enemies that aren't even high priority at the time. If you're a melee, it's easy to quickly switch up, but if you're a caster and you're doing a long cast, like say a pyroblast or something, you don't want to be in a situation where you've got to quickly tab target halfway through any fight. I had to include this clip because here we are on the parapets. You get to see just how nice of a time of day it was to do this recording. This nice sort of amber glow to everything, really feeling like we were in this dusky part of the world. And I had to put this part in because I noticed just the side, as you can see, there's a chest, and no, I haven't forgotten it. You can see me itching to get over there because I saw that it was locked and no one else could access that shit. And you know, I just go over and just cheekily unlock it, and no one says a word, and I just steal all of this shit inside the way a rogue has to do. It's fantastic. And you know, combat's not even over, and I'm straight over there. Everybody runs on past, and I'm thinking, God, is anybody gonna ask for what's inside? Got myself a nice cloak to sell, some leather shit to sell. Iron ore, later discarded it, but whatever. Always nice to take advantage of some of them not so necessary abilities on the rogue. Loving it. And now we're inside the tower, which is great. I really have to watch out for these Sons of Arugor which start to appear when you get inside the tower, because they will like come out of nowhere. Like when you res, these Sons of Arugor will just run down the stairs at you and just wipe you out, and it's really fucking annoying. So you gotta watch out for that shit when you're leveling around here. Next is one of my favourite bosses, and one of the few that I could actually remember from vanilla that were taken out, and that was Fenris. Love this guy, he's just a huge fucking warg, and he's got a great boss room. And I really wanted to do him because I remember back in Burning Crusade, this guy dropped a cloak, and it was called like a wolfskin cloak or something like that. And it was the first cloak that you could get on a rogue that wasn't one of these dinky little shitty cape things. It was a proper cloak that went down past your arse and made you feel like a badass warrior, a badass assassin in the darkness. And I knew that nobody else was going to need this because we only had clothies and mail wearers, so I thought, please drop, please drop. So we took him on, it was easy enough, it was just a simple tank and spang as usual. And there he is, he dropped his cloak, and I was like, yes, I will fucking need on that swiftly. Got it straight away, I just had my bags open ready to use it. But then these guys came out of nowhere, all these Voidwalkers, and I was like, what the fuck's going on here? Managed to take them out, they weren't as hard as they looked, fortunately. None of them were elite. And by this time I'd won the cloak and I was feeling over the moon. And I equipped it, and look how badass we look now. Yeah, get the cloak on and feeling a lot better than I was before. Looking like a true, you know, a bit of a more of a professional. Now we've got our shoulder pads and we've got our cloak on. The only weird thing about this cloak, which is why I remembered it for so long, is that it's kind of a bit skewed, as if it's like been sewn together in loads of weird little pieces that don't particularly fit together. But it is an awesome, nice thing to have when you get your first cloak. I don't know if you guys agree. A lot of people don't like using cloaks or helmets, but I'm one of those people who really likes having cloaks in WoW. Some MMOs don't have cloaks, and I don't get why. Cloaks really make your character look so badass. One of the things that I really wish was in Skyrim, and I know there's probably mods for it, was the ability to wear cloaks, because it makes your character just look so much cooler. Makes you look like a true mentalizer. So, this was the encounter that we wiped on. And it was the only encounter which we all fully wiped on, because as you can see, when you pull this boss, he summons these wolves, and you first got to kill all these wolves that are inside already. But when you pull the boss, which this warrior does accidentally, it's not really his fault. He just happens to stray in just a little bit too much here, and he pulls pulls the boss, and the boss summons these wolves, and it can really play havoc with the tank. And once the tank goes, or if the healer gets out of mana, it can be really difficult. As you can see, the healer's already had to burn through a lot of his mana to heal us through this particular part of time. And sorry about Skype noises, guys. Sorry about Skype noises, guys. People ambushing me in the middle of the instance. So unprofessional of me, but what am I going to do, my friends? All I can remember is spending my entire time being pissed off at this warrior here, because he had that fucking sword that I really want. And you know, he had a nice mace earlier. He had a two-handed mace, and then suddenly, like Mr. Smite, he switched up and he started doing the dual wield, the wilding technique. But that sword is fantastic. It's a shame we didn't get it. Here we are. We've already got to fight this boss. As you can see, the warrior's already had to kill these 4 wolves, and the healer's already had to spend mana on them. And he keeps summoning these wolves to help him out. It gets really hectic. At this point in time, all I was thinking was, just kill the boss. Kill the boss. Once the boss dies, it doesn't matter. But if the boss doesn't die, we have to do all of this again. So I thought, you know what, focus fully on the bosses, forget all of the rest of the people. So I put my evasion on, and I just thought, you know what, I'll do as much damage as I can, get a rupture on if I can. I ended up getting killed by one of the mobs here, but fortunately, in the last minute, the boss died, just when we were about to wipe. And then it was on to the big man himself, Archmage Arugel. I really love this boss room. It's really Spartan, it's really sparse, but it really does suit that kind of dark, decrepit is the word I'd use, decrepit, dishevelled feel that Shadowfang Keep has. And I've got to say, guys, I'm really glad that I managed to film this video, and I know how much you guys will enjoy it, because I love this dungeon. In vanilla more so than anything. I like what they did with it with Cataclysm. They really did keep that sort of gothic feel to it. But I love the idea of this being a werewolf dungeon. In all honesty, if I could ask the Nostalrius developers to do anything, or if I could have asked Blizzard to do anything, it would have been, why not make Shadowfang Keep a raid rather than just a dungeon? Because I mean, the closest thing to SFK is Stratholme, and Stratholme is still really different. This is like your most Halloween-ass raid you can get, other than say Scholarmance, and it's so good. It's so good. I really wish this had been a higher end dungeon, because it is absolutely fantastic. But anyway, there's a point where the warrior just prepares me for the deep shit, which is going to be the Arugel encounter, by just saying, "Rogue, need lots of kicks, please." And that's when I knew it was on. But at the moment, we had to kill all these sons of Arugel, because apparently this guy does mega shadow blasts, or shadow bolts, apparently. So, oh, by the way, I had a fun time skinning everything here. I know it's not a lot of it's in these guts, but I had a fun time skinning the shit out of everything here. Right, so here I was thinking, let's get it on. I really wanted Arugel down, because I knew that once Arugel was dead, I'd completed the dungeon, the video was wrapped up, and I knew that it was all on with. The warrior was bouncing around. He couldn't wait to get stuck in there. I was just looking for it. I've been playing so much Paladin lately, I was looking to buff myself, buff my allies for a minute. I was like, what the fuck are you on about? You're playing a rogue. You help no one but yourself, mate. But here we are. Here we are. And then the warrior just run in here. It was a bit reckless. He should have maybe said something, because we were all miles and miles away. But we got in straight away. And I was wanting to conserve a bit of energy. As you can see, I do a lot of auto attacking here and don't do that much abilities, because I know that I've got to spend a lot of energy on my kicks. The only time when I kind of did a lot of ability work here was when I knew that my kick was on cooldown. But there was a time here when we thought, ah, shit, we are fucked. Because he does this thing where he turns somebody into a worgen, and I'm pretty sure the person that he did turn into a worgen happened to be the healer, which is kind of a bit inconvenient for us, because if you turn the healer into a worgen that fights for you, it's not really good for our tank. So the tank died quite swiftly here, but we had Arugel at about half health, and at this point I knew, look, we can deal with it, our other warrior will take control. You know, the tank here is just saying, tank like you've never done before. This Tauren, straight up baller, got his shield on straight away. Really good plays, my friend. That's what being a warrior is all about. Getting ready to swap roles immediately. That's what it's about. And I was just playing my position, getting as many of them shadow bolts in as I could possibly get. But I knew at this point, we've got this. And you know, this is actually the first boss that I've had where I felt like there was actually quite a bit of movement involved in the encounter and effectively phases. You know, he like teleports about and shit like that, and he transforms people. Nice few mechanics there. But there we are, guys. We got Aruwo's head. This was it pretty much fucking done. And oh, I had such a good time here right now. I hope you guys love this video. But that's it. That's a wrap. That's a wrap at the end of this part, this dungeon playthrough of Shadowfang Keep on the Rogue. My name has been Mittens. Please, guys, remember to vote in that straw poll if you haven't already. Really just help me out. Just give you the opportunity to choose what we play next. It will be awesome stuff. But please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And stay tuned for more Nostalrius, more videos from me, Mittens Beer. See you later.